All right. Well, thank you for taking the time today to participate in this training session. As we have been through this past 11 months of a COVID-19 pandemic, we have had to, in many ways, learn how to do church all over again. I'm part of a couple of different national ministry groups. Ben is as well. One of mine is a senior adult ministers group. Another is a Christian educators group. We've been meeting off and on for the last 11 months by Zoom just to share knowledge and experiences and try to learn from each other how to do church. And Ben, one of the things that I had been most impressed by is how our church has just continued to keep on rolling. So many of the churches that I have talked with, they basically shut down back in March of 2020. They sent everybody home. They sent their Sunday school and connect groups home, and they have done very little to try to stay connected. And yet here at First Baptist Hendersonville, our members have done a phenomenal job of staying connected with each other, and especially our connect group leaders. I think one of the great takeaways for us of COVID-19 has been how well our leaders have shepherded their groups.
Absolutely, Jerry. I totally agree. It's been number one, we always know that we're just privileged to be in a church with you guys, to serve alongside each of our connect group leaders, and that God has called each of you to your groups. And this just has kind of confirmed that. Like, we've seen you be used of the Lord to shepherd and pastor in your gifting for the people that God has really designed you to minister to. And it just kind of bears out that all of those passages in Scripture where it says that the body is made up of individuals who love and shepherd each other well. And so you guys are y'all have done an incredible job, and we're so grateful for you.
Very much so. If you've participated in any of our training in the last couple of years, you have heard me talk about RTM, Reach, Teach, Minister. And I have always said that we had to reach people in order to be able to teach people, and we teach people in order to care for people, in order to minister to people. We teach people how to minister to each other. One of the things, though, that has come out of this pandemic, though, is we may need to reverse. Instead of reach, teach, minister, we may need to reverse that to minister, reach, and then teach. We are going to have to show people, a lot of people that are already members of our connect groups, as well as the 60% of Sumner County that's unchurched around us. We're going to have to show them we care first before they ever give us the privilege of having them in groups where they might be taught. And before we can ever reach them, we're going to have to care for them. And so instead of reach, teach, minister, we're going to have to start thinking care. Care gives us the privilege to reach, and reaching gives us the privilege to teach. We're going to have to change that around just a little bit. That does not mean that teaching is not still extremely important. It is. But the caring part is going to have to be elevated even higher than it has been in the past. So we have 3 wins for you. 3 wins that your group can start participating in right now to help your connect group build that strong foundation for a post-COVID world, but also to just continue doing what you're doing really well and building on that. Ben, that first win is to establish a care structure. Tell us just a little bit about what does that mean, a care structure?
Absolutely. So each of our groups, we saw that the ability of our groups to stay connected during our time away, our time in social distancing, was directly connected to a few things. But one of them was just how many leaders were involved in caring for the members of their group. And so a care structure is just saying, hey, who's going to be responsible for making sure everybody's okay, for making sure everybody's prayed for and cared for and loved well and stayed connected with. And in some groups, that's the teacher. They're leading out in care, but most groups who run more than 5 or 6, we need more than one leader to help us do that. And then we have some groups that are much larger, And some of those groups have a very, very strong care structure with quite a few leaders involved in making sure, but some of them didn't. And the groups that stayed connected, that cared well for their leaders, that ministered, like we said before, were the ones who had the best connection coming back in. And so we want to make sure that each of our groups is working to establish a care structure that works for their group.
Exactly. The second win that we all can accomplish right now is to begin creating safe opportunities for our Connect groups to come back together as groups. Some of you have been doing that since day one. Others, like my group, we have been meeting on Sunday mornings in person. Part of our group has. Part of our group has been meeting on Sunday evenings through Zoom, and we're having our Bible study together. But what we have not been able to do yet is to come together in a fellowship format or a fashion where we are able just to get to know each other and just to get to share the experiences of life with each other. Right now, to come back and do fellowships the way a lot of our groups used to do them, that's just not feasible. That is not going to be possible as long as we are continuing to have social distancing and wearing masks and different precautions that we're having to take. But spring is just a few days away, a few weeks away, and as we're recording this, it's a beautiful, beautiful sunny day out there. It's cold, but it's a beautiful day, and it's just a reminder that not too many weeks from now, we can actually begin pulling our groups together, maybe for some outdoor events, either at the church farm or here on the church property, or maybe at your home, your front yard, or something like that. We had a group of men a couple of weeks ago on an extremely cold day. They had already planned it, but they decided to keep on rolling with it. Everybody brought their lawn chairs. Everybody brought a sack lunch. And 6 men set out in their teacher's front yard, socially distanced, and visited with each other until finally the cold weather just ran them off. They just couldn't stand it any longer, but it allowed them to come together and to reconnect in a way that they have not been able to do over the last 11 months. And so a win for us right now is to begin planning how are we going to connect our groups, not just for Bible study, but for the social fellowship aspect of Connect Group as well. And then that third win is to begin building a prospect file. Ben, you spend a lot of time combing through our church data looking for prospects. What would an individual class or group's prospect file look like?
So we are constantly trying to identify new people or people who've been even connected for a while and who might be newly interested in a group, and sending you that info as group leaders for groups that would be good fits. What we've got to start understanding, though, is that 60% of Sumner County is unchurched, right? And 50% of our church membership, which means they were in and out of our doors, isn't connected to a group. And it's hard for us as a staff to identify those folks. But each of our groups is uniquely designed to reach a certain specific group of people. You've got age ranges. You've got some that are male only, female only groups. You've got groups focused on single moms or single by many definitions on Sunday. You've got all kinds of different dynamics. And what we want to ask our group leaders to do is lead your groups to explore and think through, who are we uniquely designed to reach? And then identifying, hey, who are the people that God's placed in our lives as group members that we need to be praying for and thinking about as prospects for our group. To come up we move from our staff designing a prospect file for you to us contributing to your prospect file as a group that your group is pursuing heavily.
The very best prospects for any group are the friends of members of that group. And as we began encouraging and challenging our group members to start looking around them, who are their neighbors, who are their coworkers, who are their friends who are unchurched, and bring those names into the group, and the group begin praying for those names, I believe we will literally be amazed and awed by the number of those individuals who eventually become a part of our group and a part of our church as a result of us intentionally praying for them and encouraging them to join us. when this pandemic started, we all thought it was just going to be a couple of weeks. In fact, I remember a group of us, Pastor Chester pulling a few of us together on Friday night, March the 13th, talking about what the governor had said that day about people meeting together. And we started talking about, okay, we can do worship online, we can do connect groups online, but surely this will all be over with by Easter. And when it wasn't over by Easter, we said, well, surely it'll be over with by summer, or by Mother's Day, or by summer. And we kept putting those dates out there. We started looking around for experts, and the first thing we learned is in the middle of a pandemic, there are no experts on how to do church. And so we have been discovering as we go. We often joke and say long-range planning for us is 6 hours, because things have changed so rapidly over the last 11 months. There has not really been a book or a person out there to lead us in doing what we need to do as a congregation. And we have just been having to learn as we go. But if we look back 100 years, we find that the Spanish flu pandemic did basically the same thing. Churches were closed down, businesses were closed down. They did not have the luxury of Zoom or Facebook Live or email or any of the things that has been such a vital part of us staying connected today. They had to learn to do church in a brand new way. They also had to learn that when the pandemic ended in the 1920s, that so many of their church members had literally scattered during those previous 3 years. They had moved because of work or because of death or because of family obligations. Different things had happened, and those churches had to begin building almost as if they were brand new churches. And out of that emerged a gentleman from Mississippi by the name of Arthur Flake. Arthur Flake worked in a department store. He sold shoes for a living, but he was also the Sunday school director at his Baptist church there in Mississippi. And he began asking himself, how can I take the principles of selling shoes and apply them to growing a Sunday school ministry, to growing a church? And he began implementing some of those principles. Over time, they have been known as Flake's formula. And you may think, well, that was 100 years ago. What does that have to do with today? But there are 5 steps that are timeless. It doesn't matter the size of the congregation, where that location is located, they work. And it's a process. It is it's something that Arthur Flake came up with. It says, if you apply these 5 steps and work them, you will build your group, you will build your Sunday school, you will build your church. So we have gone back to 100 years ago to look for the expert then. And we are applying those 5 steps. For some of you, this is nothing new. I've talked about it before in our Connect Group workers meetings where we've talked about Flake's formula, but we are applying those to what we're doing today. And on the screen in front of you, you see those 5 steps. The first one is know the possibility. The second one is enlarge the organization in order to be able to meet the possibility. The third one is enlist and train workers. That's a part of what we're doing right now, is training. The fourth one is to provide space and resources that are needed. And then the 5th one is to go after the people. Ben, that sounds simple, but you and I both know that's a lot of work involved in those 5 steps. And the first thing we have to answer is know the possibility. So let's talk about that just a second. You have already said that 60% of Sumner County is unchurched. What have we learned about people's desire to be connected in the midst of this pandemic?
Man, it is interesting how that the social isolation and different dynamics of the pandemic have really, we believed, set the church up for a golden opportunity. We are having people who were attending 4 and 5 years before the pandemic calling us now and saying, look, I wasn't connected before. I need connection. Can you please help me find a connector? That's exciting. That's awesome. And the crazy part is that's for the churched people, right? And we believe wholeheartedly that we are about to walk into a season where people are hungry for relationship. They're hungry for the real thing of walking together with people, figuring out life together, being loved well and loving other people well. And man, I don't know any other place to get that than a Connect group. I believe that connect groups are ideally suited for that. Half of our church membership isn't a part of a connect group. I already said that. And so we want to set ourselves up. We want to talk. We believe that each of our connect groups is situated to reach people in a new season. And we want to help each of our connect groups find their space of ministry, because we need every group to be reaching people, because the Lord has great plans in store, we believe. We've also had a couple of new staff changes that are, we believe, will position the church to be effective or more effective in reaching people. Jeff Lake has been here for a long time as our children's minister and then as the director of our FMC. And he has taken on a new challenge, a new opportunity of stepping into the community outreach director for our church. And he will be taking the lead in getting our church out into the community. You know, we've had Tennessee's been the most moved to state in the mix of the pandemic. A U-Haul article, or an article came out that U-Haul had more trucks coming into Tennessee than anywhere else as they saw people moving into this area. And it's still happening, right? Our community is growing by leaps and bounds, and there are a lot of people driving down Main Street or driving down Vietnam veterans that have not the slightest clue that our church is here. Our location kind of prohibits that. If you're new to the community, especially during the pandemic, we haven't been as publicly engaged as before. And so Jeff Lake wants to help change that. He's going to be getting us involved in community events and 4th of July and Gallatin Square festivals, all kinds of different stuff, exploring how our church can be lights in the community, can let people know we're here, that we love our community, and that we care about each of them individually. We're excited about that. Then Jake Poor has been a trainer and helped in the FMC in some different ways, and he's taken on a new role as the leader of our recreational outreach. We have one of the finest facilities that I know of for recreation in our FMC. We have a farm that we haven't even begun to kind of tap the potential of how to use that well for reaching people. And Jake is going to have the responsibility of helping us figure out how to do ministries. He's got an intramural kickball league kicking off for different folks, for adults here in the next little bit. He's doing a lot with all of our age group ministries, and we believe that both of those things are going to generate a lot of opportunities for us to see new prospects connect to your group.
You know, one of the things that Jake's working on that we will that's going to start right after Easter is on Thursday mornings, the FMC is going to be utilized as basically a senior adult community gathering spot, not just for our church members, but for the friends of our church members and everybody in the Hendersonville, Gallatin area to come together on Thursday mornings, do all kinds of different rec and exercise programs and just educational programs, a lot of unique things that's going to allow us to invite our friends to come be a part of that. And then from there, invite them to come and be a part of connect groups. He's not just doing that for senior adults, he's doing that for a lot for other ages as well. One of the things, the next slide or the next step is enlarge the organizations. And one of the things we often think about when we talk about enlarging the organization is starting new groups. We definitely are going to start new groups, but part of enlarging the organization means making sure that the groups that we currently have are well staffed, that they have enough leadership for them to be able to do what they do really well. When we look at Flake's formula, not only does it have those 5 steps of knowing the possibility, enlarging the organization and so on that we looked at, but there's also some data in there as to what does a standard group look like? What does a standard Sunday school look like? How many groups should there be per member? How many workers should there be per group or per member? And we've gone back and looked at that information that, like I said, was used back in the 1920s to grow churches in ways like they had never grown before or since then. So we know that they are principles that work. And the first one is that there should be one group for every 12 to 18 members of your connect group structure. if we applied that to the 2,800 adult Connect Group members we have today, if we were just to use that upper range of 18, one group for every 18, you see on the screen there that we need to have 155 groups if we're going to do what we do really well in reaching people and caring for people and teaching people. We currently have 86 groups, college through our oldest adult groups. So that shows us we're already 69 groups below where we need to be doing a great job with connecting people through our Connect groups. We also know that there should be one worker for every 5 people enrolled. We currently have about 365 workers. That's teachers, outreach leaders, secretaries, fellowship leaders, care group leaders. We've got about 365 workers in the adult Connect Group ministry, but we should have around 560. So that means we're almost 200 below where we need to be. So we're in the process of enlarging the organization and also creating this care structure that we've been talking about by enlisting a group of people that we are calling directors, one director for every 5 to 8 groups. That means we need about 19 directors overall. And these are not people that come to serve as the expert to tell us how to do Connect Group as much as they are in the role of encouraging and being there to provide that care for you as a Connect Group leader, as you in turn provide care for those in your group. So we have already enlisted somewhere around 7 or 8 of those 19 right now. We will be letting you know as soon as we have a director for your group or for a group of groups. We will be letting you know who your director will be very soon. Ben, tell us just a little bit more about what a director is going to do.
Absolutely. So directors are going to be getting to know you, checking in on your group. They're going to probably sit in on your group from time to time to know what's going on, to be an encouragement, and also so that they know the members of your group. A couple of my directors who've been in place for a little while now are constantly subbing for our group leaders. So that's been a major blessing. But man, the biggest thing is that they want to care for you. They want to show you that they care. They want to make sure that we know what's going on so that you're supported well, so that you have what you need. And so I think they'll become good friends. I think they'll become major allies for you and for us. We know that this has proven really fruitful for our young adult groups. And so I think you'll enjoy this. They're not here to coach you or in terms of telling you exactly what you need to be doing, but they do know a lot. A lot of them have done this for a while, have led in different dynamics, and I think they'll be an encouragement to you as you pursue. They're going to help us figure out how do we continue to build up this care structure that we need, so we can be ready for who the Lord wants to bring to us, to the church.
Exactly. The next 2 steps are enlist and train workers and provide space and resources. We're going to be talking a lot more about those in the weeks to come. And so we're going to skip on by those for right now. Go to the 5th step, which is go after people, go after the people. Ben has already encouraged you and challenged you to lead your group to begin thinking through and make a decision. Who is your group uniquely designed to reach? In the room right next to my office, there is a group of ladies that meet on Monday mornings, and they are a new group. They've only been in existence for a little over a month, maybe 6 weeks. They were started as a Connect group for widows, fairly new, recent widows. And I tell you, that group, because they know who they're uniquely designed to reach, they are going after who they're uniquely designed to reach, and they are beginning to grow like crazy. The last 2 Mondays, it's just been phenomenal. I keep expecting them to come and say, we've got to have a larger room. And it's simply because they know who they're uniquely designed to reach, and that's who they are going after. So this has been encouraged you and challenged you. I do as well. Start figuring out who is your group uniquely designed to reach. And then begin with the friends of group members. Ask your friends to share people in their, or ask your group members to share friends and people in their sphere of influence who are unchurched that your group can begin praying for, and your group can be actively inviting to come to fellowships and to group times. Also, look around. If you are back on campus for worship service, begin looking around at people that are sitting near you. Chances are 50% of that group are not in a connect group. There's a lot of people in the worship service every single Sunday who does not attend a connect group, or even if they are a member of a connect group, they may be looking for a new opportunity. You know, anytime something big happens, it kind of gives people that were already maybe a little restless, it gives them permission to look around for maybe another group that they fit, that they have a better fit with. So there might be people there that are really looking to come to a new group, to your group, if they were just invited. And then obviously guests. You know, we said we are going to start some new groups. Ben, what is our goal for 2021? How many new groups have we set as a goal?
We are praying that we could see 52 new connect groups start in 2021.
Man, I tell you, and praying is the optimal word. I've had so many people say there's no way y'all can do that. And they are absolutely right. There is no way that Ben and Jerry can start 52 new groups. But you know what? God can. And we are believing that he wants us to have more groups. We are believing that this formula that we are sharing with you is correct, that it is tried and proven to be true, and that it works. And we are going to do everything we can through God's power to begin these new groups. But you know, new groups start through existing groups. It's existing groups that provide the teachers and provide people to help start those new groups. So Ben, we have some target dates out there. That first target date is coming up. I hate to tell you, but it is coming up in about 5 to 6 weeks from today. It is very near us, not very far away at all. And it's the Sunday after Easter. And Ben, is that number 22 correct on there?
That's correct. We're aiming for 22 the week after Easter. We are working hard. We are asking and praying and talking with new leaders and core group members, and we're working hard to see that happen, because we want to be ready for the summer, because it looks like as we move into May and June, as temperatures rise and opportunities for hopefully as numbers for COVID go down, we want to be a position to reach people, and we believe the Lord's going to keep on bringing people here. The other thing we want to remember is, I want to encourage you as you think about, Lord, who's God calling out of my group, is our goal is not to see these groups grow to very large numbers before they multiply. We see that the Flakes formula says that we want groups of 12 to 18 to be optimal, which means if you're running 10 on an average Sunday, that means you have about 20 on roll. And so we're aiming for that kind of a target. And we believe that there's a lot of people who might think of the traditional Sunday school idea as 50 people in a class, and they're intimidated by that. But really and truly, our goal is to see care, and we want to see the Bible taught, but it doesn't have to be big crowds, right? We believe groups reach people best in smaller contexts and care for people best in smaller contexts. We're not against big groups. We've got rooms that are going to hold a bunch of people, right? But we're aiming for these groups to stay small and multiply and be nimble. And there's a lot of people who say, I could never teach 50 people, who say, well, I could lead discussion for 10 people. And so we need to know about those folks. We ask that you would begin praying about who you would send out, about some people we need to approach. So if you know of somebody who you think, man, they'd be great for that, let us know. You don't even have to feel like you're going to give them the guilt trip. We will. And so please pass the word on.
You know, Ben, we said earlier that one of the things that we learned through COVID-19 was that smaller groups were much more successful at staying connected. They were more flexible. They were more able to move quickly from in-person to online and from online back to in-person. And some of them have even had to go more hybrid, in-person and online at the same time. And as you said, these 52 groups that we are praying for now, our goal is that they remain groups that would only have 8 to 10, maybe 12 people in attendance. You said 18 enrolled, and half of that would be 9 in attendance. And the idea is that they would always stay smaller groups, so that if there's another pandemic that comes, and who knows? The Spanish flu came in 4 waves. We don't know if COVID is going to be in waves or not, but if it is and we see it come back again, we've got groups that are ready really to be flexible and to jump in there and do what they need to do. Plus, we know that smaller groups just minister to each other better, more effectively. So in addition to April the 11th, you see that we've got 3 other dates there that are our targets. We may not hit them, but the one thing for sure, if we don't have targets and if we don't have targets that are large enough for us to work towards, we won't hit them. We won't even try. So we have a very large number of groups out there that we are praying about starting and working on starting, knowing that, God is in control of all of this. So what are some ways that you can help be a part of starting some new groups? We've already given you 3 wins for your group today. Well, here's 3 wins for the future. The first one is to lead your group to pray for the unchurched. How can you, Sunday by Sunday or week by week as your group meets, how can you begin praying for the unchurched? Well, number 1, that prospect file that we talked about. Lead your group to be praying for the people that are on that prospect list or that prospect file that are unchurched. Also encourage you, just especially as the lesson that you're teaching allows, if it's an evangelistic lesson, or if it's a lesson on prayer, if it's a lesson about people's needs, take some time during the class to pray for unchurched people as a part of that lesson. And then, Ben, the second win is apprentice teachers. What in the world is an apprentice teacher?
An apprentice teacher is a Connect group leader that you bring up alongside you to teach that isn't a co-teacher, because co-teachers plan on staying together and teaching for the long term together. And we're so grateful that we have a lot of co-teachers, right? But this is somebody you're preparing to lead a group for themselves. And so that could be someone you're raising up to take your group if the Lord leads you to step out and start a new group, or you're raising them up to send them out with a core group out of your group. But I would say one thing that marks an apprentice teacher from a co-teacher is that the leader of the Connect groups is there when the apprentice teacher teaches, often to give feedback and encouragement and help them grow. And yet that can start with just giving them 1 point out of the lesson and say, hey, I want you to study this, and I believe the Lord's kind of gifted you to teach. Hey, would you teach this one part of the lesson for me? Or would you think about a way to lead this object lesson or illustration? Or would you lead in prayer even? Like just raising people up, giving them opportunities to demonstrate leadership and grow into that. But the goal is, again, you might not get to keep this one, right? You're encouraging and recognizing the Lord's gifting in people, because the Lord wants to use them.
Ben, I teach a Connect group, and none of us want to think about losing people in our group. None of us want to think about having people in our group leave our group to go to another group, whether it's to go help start a new group or just, go to a group that maybe fits them and fits their needs a little bit better than our group. We work hard to build a group, and we want to keep that group. But the reality of it is our groups exist to connect every generation, every person to God, to others, and to service. And if we only connect them to God and to others by keeping them in our Connect group, we have never fulfilled the mission of the church. We have never fulfilled what the Bible instructs us to do, which is to equip others to go out and to serve. I have an apprentice teacher in mind in my group. In fact, yesterday I asked him if he would teach the last Sunday of this month. He doesn't know it yet. I'm going to be in the room though. I didn't ask him to teach because I wasn't going to be here. I asked him to teach because I believe he could be a great apprentice teacher and would be a good teacher to help start a new group. And before I talk to him about it, I want the opportunity to get to observe him teaching and see how he does with that, so that we can have that conversation about him helping start a new group.
I think
Every year for Christmas, I receive as a gift a farmer's almanac. And a couple of days ago, I was reading an article that was in this year's almanac, and it was talking about that stack of firewood. And it was talking about how those people that work to put together a wood pile, how they love to stand back and admire their work. We love to see how all the logs are cut the same size and how well they have been stacked. And we love to just kind of step back and look at, the results of our labor. But the article goes on and says that when you build a firewood pile, you build it for the purpose of using it. And if all you ever do is stand back and admire it, the pile of wood never fulfills its purpose. It has to be dismantled log by log as it's used for fuel. It has to be dismantled in order for it to truly fulfill its purpose. Connect groups are that way as well. If we never send people out, then we're not really fulfilling our purpose. We are just educating the educated instead of moving them on in order for them to train up and teach other people. That brings us to the third win for the future. And the third win is to identify prospects that are already in your group who would be really good candidates for helping start another group. Maybe there's some of the people that are kind of in the crowd. They have just never really fit well with your group for whatever reason. They just don't seem to be as tied into your group as they would be in another group. Maybe it's people that just have a real gift, and you notice that they are great at inviting people and at networking with people, and they would be excellent at helping start off a new group, especially a new group of people that are just moving into the area that have no friends at all. Maybe it's a group within your group. A lot of times a Connect group has subgroups that are in their group that it's healthy, everything's great about it, but one of those subgroups could make an excellent start for a new group. So we want to encourage you to begin identifying those prospects that are in your class, not prospects for your class, but people that are in your class that would be prospects for helping start a new group. And when you identify them, send that information to Ben or send that information to me, and we'll talk to them about it. You don't have to be the one that goes and talks to them about it. We will do that for you, but we need to know who those people are. Ben, every year we give our Connect Group leaders a book to read, and we have one this year. It's a brand new book. It was just released back in December. It's called Building a Disciple-Making Ministry. It is actually a book that is based on these 5 steps of Arthur Flake's principles. We're pretty proud of this book because 2 of the chapters were written by our very own. One by David Francis, who's a member of this church and has taught preschool for years, and another chapter by Bruce Raley. So we're pretty proud of this book ourselves, but we have a copy of this for you. We would love to get it in your hands. It's only about 140 pages. It's a very quick read, but it will go into much more depth than we can do in this video as far as Arthur Flake's 5 steps. And what does that mean for starting new groups that will intentionally remain small groups? Ben, if they'll take the book and read it and let us know they read it, we'll give them 100 points. Those that have attended our workers meetings in the past know that we collect points, and at the end of the year, we have prizes for the points. So this book is a 100-point read, which is a big one. What else do you have to say as we close today, Ben?
I want to encourage our leaders, man. We really pray that the Lord will open up. COVID will be gone for good, but that's not looking realistic in the near future. And so want to encourage you to continue operating with social distancing, wearing masks in the hallways. And we're just trying to do that to keep things as safe as possible for our people, and to give people who are visiting here, for sure, especially a sense of security, a sense of comfort. And that's the biggest stuff. We're so grateful. Thanks for tuning in with us on this. Thanks for giving us your time. And we really believe the Lord is preparing us as an organization of Connect Groups to be the church organized to do ministry and reach people. We believe wholeheartedly that we're looking forward to a season of growth and of reaching people that like we'd never experienced before. We saw it happen after the Spanish flu pandemic. We believe that these principles, these aren't trends or fads, these are principles for ministry that still hold true. And we've seen your faithfulness work this out. And as we walk in faithfulness, we're praying the Lord's going to do something big. And we're so grateful that we get to do it with you. So thanks so much.
You know, this video has been a little long. Actually, it's a part of an hour-long training that we did this past week, both in person and on Zoom with some people, but we wanted to get this in everyone's hands. So I realize this video has been a little long. In the next few weeks, Ben will be sending out some much shorter videos, like 2 and 3 minute long videos on some specific aspects of the 3 wins for today and the 3 wins for the future, and some things that you can use to know more about those wins, but also how to implement those wins in your group. As Ben has said, thank you so much for your time today. It is a true gift. Our prayer is that God blesses you and multiplies this time back into your day in an amazing way. Take care.
We'll see you soon.